Hi there, my name's Simon, and in this episode of the Maserati Guy, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the R8, inside and out. It's a very cold, grey and windy day here in Sydney, but that's not going to stop us from fully exploring this amazing looking car. I'm going to give you a full tour around the outside. I'm going to explain all the options that are on the car, and then we're going to go inside and have a look at the interior. So it is a great looking car. It's actually quite a lot smaller in the flesh than it looks, and I think that's due to its low slung design combined with its pretty wide stance. It actually makes it look quite large, but in fact it's actually about 40 centimeters shorter than the Gran Turismo. So it's quite a compact car by comparison. But it does have an amazing presence. I think you'll agree it's an absolutely stunning looking car from every angle. I particularly like the rear kind of 3/4 angle from here. I think this is probably my favorite look. Those tail lights just have so much interest going on. The grills beneath, the carbon fiber splitter at the back, the glass engine cover, so much visual interest going on there. So this is a model year 2010 V10 R8. So that was the first year that the V10 actually came out. It was spec'd as standard quite a lot higher than the regular V8, but there were still quite a lot of options available, and we're going to go through those. The first one, you've probably noticed already, is the carbon side blades. Those were an option, a cost option. I think it was about $5,000 for those carbon side blades. They just add a little bit of something special to the look of the car, especially contrasting with this lava grey, I think it's lava grey or quartz grey paintwork. And this design here with the slightly extended air intakes is one of the distinctive features of the V10. The V8 version is just a straight down side blade, but the slightly expanded side blade is a V10 specific feature. Let's just open the engine compartment. Little switch just behind the driver's seat opens the engine compartment, and raising the glass lid reveals the beautiful Lamborghini designed V10. Now, one of the options on this car, which is a cost option, is the carbon engine bay. That was another significant cost option on this car. You can see it's got these LED lights either side of the engine compartment just to illuminate the engine bay at night when you turn on the car. You can see the engine is actually mounted low down in the engine bay. You can just see the top of the coil packs there. This bit at the top here is the air intakes. So the intake box comes through the filter here, through these flexible pipes and into the intake manifold, the inlet manifold in the middle of the V there. So you've got all your fluids available here. You've got your water, coolant water, steering fluid and oil here, and you've got a dipstick just here, although there is electronic measurement of the oil level through the gauge cluster. So I think that's a really spectacular feature of this car. The engine on display through the glass roof is a really spectacular element to this car, which I love. At the back here you've got a spoiler, very much in the mold of the TT. I think the TT actually derived it originally from the R8. So this spoiler will extend automatically at speeds over 100 kilometers an hour. It also acts as a hot air exit for the engine bay, and if the engine gets too hot for any reason, it will actually raise up to allow more airflow out of the engine bay. So dual purpose there. You can also put the spoiler up manually using a control on the center console. So twin pipe exhaust. As I say, I think this is an aftermarket, but I haven't yet been able to determine which aftermarket it is. I'll do a bit more research on that. You can see the pipes behind that grille there, but I can't see any markings on them, and you can't really get a good view anywhere else. I might have a look underneath the car. You can see it's got this beautiful carbon fiber splitter at the back with a third brake light down there. You've got one at the bottom, and then you've got your standard LED brake light at the top here. So I'll just open the front boot, or the front trunk, or the frunk as it's known. There's a button in here which you can push just to open the front trunk. And a catch under here just to lift up and reveal the front trunk. It's not huge, as you can see. It's not huge at all, but you can get a couple of decent sized weekend bags in there. Be fine for a short road trip. Couldn't take my wife, she takes too much luggage. But yeah, kind of squashy weekend bags, travel bags will go in there, no problem. Under the cover here we have just a basic toolkit with a repair kit for punctures. Oh look, kind of person that had this car before me. It's a poker chip. Right, good, excellent. That's the kind of person that drives an R8. Got a 12 volt charging port there. Not sure what you'd use that for. Light. You've got your windscreen washer fluid in there. And I think behind this panel, I'm not going to try and take it off, but I think that's the battery. So you've got the kind of clamshell design on the bonnet, which extends onto the wheel arches there. Quite a nice design feature. perfectly usable. Couldn't get a set of golf clubs in, so it fails that particular test. Carbon fibre front splitter there, as you can see. A few little paint chips on that front section, but I'm going to get those touched up. It's inevitable with a car of this age. So the car has these very, very long doors, which does make entry and exit in confined spaces a little bit tricky. But obviously they're part of the whole low slung sleek design of the car, so it's difficult to avoid really. You've got your tow-away protection here and your interior ultrasonic sensors. Disable those through those buttons there. Just a couple of options here which I'm going to just explain while we're here. The first is the carbon, I think it's called a monoposta, which is this kind of arch which goes over the driving position here. This is an option in carbon fibre. As you can see, it's beautiful all the way along here, up the door, across the instrument panel and down the other side. Very cool feature here is that this area of the carbon fibre here actually transitions from gloss to matte in order to avoid reflections in the windscreen when you're driving. Nice little touch, that. On the other side, part of the carbon pack is also the addition of carbon on the passenger door. And this car also has the extended Napa leather. Now what that means is that various parts of the car that ordinarily would be in plastic are in leather in this car. That includes areas like this behind the driver's seat. It also includes the tops of all the doors with this beautiful stitching here. Just includes a whole bunch of other areas that would normally be plastic, which are covered in leather. I think it actually makes a real improvement to the interior of the car, and it also has a beautiful smell to it as well. Beautiful leather smell. I should say the extended Napa package when this car was new was something around $14,000. So thanks to the original owner for spending that much money on it. The other option that I should point out is the Alcantara headlining. That was an option on this car. Just adds a real touch of elegance. I actually really like the beige interior. It just brightens up the interior a bit. I've always had black interiors, but having something a little bit different actually makes a big improvement. So just stepping into the car, see it's got a very nice instrument cluster. It's very nicely detailed, almost jewel-like. It's a step up from your average Audi instruments. One of my concerns that I originally expressed back in one of my early videos, I'll link to it above, is that I thought driving an R8 would be too similar to driving an A3 or something like that. And there are bits of it which are similar. I mean, the indicator stalks, and the washer stalks, they're all standard Audi. Even the steering wheel is a fairly standard Audi one. But the instruments are very special. They do look lovely. I think they really add an extra touch of class to this cockpit. The instrument cluster cover here is beautifully finished in leather. That's part of the extended leather package, as is the entire dashboard, which you can see has got this beautiful stitching. You've got your kind of standard Audi navigation. I'll just get my phone out of the way. I'm just been working out how to do Bluetooth. Standard Audi navigation. You've got your air conditioning controls here. The R8 gearbox. The elephant in the room, as people would have it say. I'm gonna refute that in a future video. You've got sport mode here, which really does increase the aggressiveness of the gear shifts. They are absolutely brutal in sport mode. You've got the Magna Ride magnetic dampers, which actually really do make a difference. With them off, it's really comfortable, very, very smooth ride, even in town. But if you want to, get that extra edge on your suspension for ultimate performance, you flick that and it really does stiffen up. You can feel it very clearly. You can manually operate the spoiler at the rear there. You've got your traction control there, and your park sensors, you can put those on manually. It does have a reversing camera, which is very useful, and it has front and rear park sensors. So just coming back here, it's got traditional manual handbrake. At the back here, you've got a little storage cubby, and in there, it's a bit of a mess, sorry. It's got an auxiliary port for audio input, and I've connected a little Bluetooth receiver to that. And there's also a cradle for an iPhone, which I won't be using, obviously. Then behind, you can see you've got a 6 CD stacker, kind of nice if you want to go old school with your music. And then behind, you can see there's a little bit of storage space here, not a huge amount. I think this car also had the storage package, which there is a net which clips onto those strange looking nodules that you can, let's just zoom in there. Those strange looking nodules there, so you can actually hang a kind of net thing around the back there. You've got your rear window here. Both this little glass panel and the main rear window have got demisters on, so you can always get good visibility out of the back. Talking about visibility, really has excellent visibility all round. Obviously with the engine mid-mounted at the rear, the bonnet is quite short, so it's you get good visibility around the front. The only slight blind spot is just over your shoulder there, where that rear 3/4 panel kind of gets in the way a little bit. But for a supercar, it's pretty damn good, really. Yeah, headroom is pretty good. It's got these little cutouts up here, which give you that extra bit of headroom. I mean, I'm not particularly tall, I'm 5'9", and I've got the seat lifted up a little bit, so just to give me a little bit more visibility, but it's actually very comfortable. And so that's the inside, that's the interior. I think I've covered pretty much everything. Very high quality interior, as always with Audi. The leather is beautiful. Obviously, I think it does, there are bits of it that remind you of the lower Audi models, but I think, that's just the way it was always going to be. But I think this definitely is a very beautiful cockpit to sit in, and is befitting of the status of the car. So let's start her up, and I can take you for a little bit of a spin. Traditional Audi key, no keyless start in this car. Traditional Audi key goes into a traditional Audi keyhole. Now this is a warm start, so it actually isn't too raucous. When you start it cold, the valves on the exhaust stay open for a little bit, and it really does make a noise. wakes the neighbours. So we're just going to go for a little spin, not a long test drive in this video, because I'm going to do a longer driving video at some point, but just give you a flavour for what it's like, and yeah, just a few comments, just a few thoughts as we're driving. So driving in an automatic, it's like any other car, very easy to drive. I don't have a major problem with it in automatic mode. It's perfectly usable. Does give it a little bit of a lurch when it changes, but it's a manual gearbox. You do that in manual, you get that in a manual gearbox. So I'm going to have my rant on the R-tronic controversy at some point, but it won't be in this video. So driving it just in normal mode is very comfortable. You can hear the engine noise obviously, but that's what you want really from a car like this. You really want to be able to hear that beautiful V10 note. If you put the mag dampers on, it does make a distinct difference to the ride quality. I'll just flick them on now, and it says suspension sport mode on, exclamation mark, as Doug DeMuro commented. And it really does, for the first time I can actually notice a difference in these in the dampers. It does actually make a significant difference to the ride quality. You feel bumps a lot more keenly through the suspension. Stiffens it up quite a lot, which is good for more aggressive driving, where you want to maximize the road holding. For general pootling around town, you'd turn it off. I remember when I first took my wife for a drive in this, she said, "God, it's really stiff. It's really bumpy," and I realised I'd got the mag dampers on. So as soon as I turned it off, it made a huge difference. Well, I hope you've really enjoyed that introduction and tour around the R8. I hope you'll agree that it is a really spectacular looking car, both outside and in, and it's an absolute delight to drive. I know a lot of you were kind of thinking that I should have kept the Maserati Gran Turismo, but I hope that I'll convince you over the next few months that this is really a car in a class apart. Very different. I know you can't compare a Grand Tourer with a supercar, but I think this is more what I really want at this time. So I hope you'll enjoy these videos. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to give that like a click. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. You can follow me on Instagram at Maserati Guy 2017, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.